This is part 5 of Federalist number 12. I put the name of some of these scholars of American founding, and one is mostly, his work is on the Constitution, Akhil Amar. And there are a few other ones that I will mention later on, but try to watch their videos, their panel discussions, their lectures on C-SPAN, YouTube, and anywhere else you can find. If you can't read their books, at least watch their talks. And C-SPAN has some of these authors, some of these scholars' talks that you might not be able to find at YouTube, because they have been focusing on his history and historians for over 20 years, and on their archives you can find a lot of talks by these people. So that's why I put definitely check C-SPAN and YouTube. Don't think that what you see on C-SPAN will be on YouTube or Vimeo or different websites. So just make yourself familiar with at least with their talks and ideas. And I also, there was another scholar that I was going to put his name, Michael Claremont. He's got a new book. It's called The Framers' Coup. He's got 2 or 3 talks. I have included some of them on this playlist. Definitely become familiar with those. Okay, this is going to be paragraph 5. Just a reminder, he's talking about commerce and how with commerce we can enrich everybody in the society, all classes of people, all people who are working in different fields. And he got to a point that said, look, we've tried direct taxes and it's just not worked. We've seen the experience of states, it has not worked. And we have seen, because we are trying to be observant and learn from other people's histories and stuff, we have seen that even in a country like England, Britain, where the government is energetic, government knows what's going on in all parts of the country, they know who the rich people are, they know who has what, how much. They have found out that the best thing to do as far as revenue goes, as far as money for the treasury of government goes, it's with indirect taxes. And some of these indirect taxes he has in mind is tariff, which is a tax government puts on imports. Then excise tax, that's a tax for domestic commodities and trade in different things. I mentioned alcohol. If you have different parts of the country that are producing alcoholic spirits, they call them spirits, alcoholic drinks, you can put an excise tax on it. So it's for domestic that you use excise. And another word they use is impost. These are all taxes. Sometimes you put them on luxury items. They say, okay, you don't have to have this thing. It's a luxury. If you choose to buy it, it's just because you want to show off, or you want to say, okay, I've got this thing. It's a luxury. For those of you who are not familiar with the meaning of it, it's not something that you have to have. So sometimes they put heavy taxes or a higher percentage of tax on luxury items. Okay? So this is kind of, that was what led, that's kind of paragraph 4 ended with that. And then paragraph 5, which we're going to look at, is in America, it is evident that we must a long time depend for the means of revenue chiefly on such duties. So, with the discussion we've had so far, we are going to have to learn that we have to do the same thing, which is get the government revenue from indirect taxes. In most part of it, excises must be confined within a narrow compass. In other words, if you're going to use excise tax, you're limited to what all you can do. There are certain things you can use an excise tax for, and you should not do something where it will hurt people, because we will learn that after George Washington became the first president of the United States, one of the times that he actually had to go and suppress an uprising was on an excise tax on liquor, because some of those farmers that were making whiskey on the side, was called Whiskey Rebellion, did not want to pay that much taxes. That was their way of making money on the side. Because remember, let's say if you're in Pennsylvania, okay, and you live all the way on the western side of Pennsylvania, on this side, and you grow corn and different things, and it's really hard for you to get that corn all the way to the east side, because remember, there are no cars, no trains, canals have not been made, so you can't easily ship it. So you have all this extra corn, and you don't want it to go bad, you don't want it to get spoiled, you want to make some money out of it. So some of the things they did was to make whiskey. And they would sell that and they would profit from it. So government said, okay, we're going to tax you on it and you will give us some money. That way, we'll have money in our treasury. So there was an uprising, and George Washington and the military had to go put it down. So that's why I say, he says there's a narrow area that we can apply the excise tax to. Okay? So you have to be smart. The reason he says this, he's getting people started. He will say it here in a little bit. But where he's going with this, what he's going to try to say is that when it's all said and done, we will decide, or we should decide, that the best thing to do is to tax the imports. From a tariff, you can make enough money. And since people immediately do not see that tax being imposed on them because it's indirect, they usually don't have that much problems with it. So he continues, the genius of the people will ill brook the inquisitive and preemptory spirit of excise laws. When he says the genius of the people, when you look at it in terms of the 18th century, it means the mood or the way of the majority, the way that majority of people look at a thing, okay, their view on a thing. So he says that American people are not going to accept a large excise tax on too many things, okay, and they're going to even smell it from far away, okay, they're going to know it before you do it. So when he's talking about inquisitive and preemptory, means sometimes it's going to be a tax that will be almost like a direct tax. They'll see it come in, they'll feel it, and American people are not going to accept it. And he's going to continue, the pockets of the farmers, on the other hand, will reluctantly yield but scanty supplies in the unwelcome shape of impositions on their houses and lands. And farmers, they really don't have that much money in their pockets or in their house, money put aside to be able to pay the government taxes on their houses and other property. He's being realistic, because a lot of the people, especially young farmers and stuff, had participated 3 months out of the year, 6 months out of the year in the Revolutionary War. So everything was left for their wives and children to take care of. They had to run the household. So everybody was financially hurting. So he's like, you can't go ask these farmers that they've already lost a lot, and we've paid them with paper money that's not worth anything. You can't go ask them to give you money for taxes, and they will reluctantly yield. Reluctantly means they are not going to give you the money willfully, okay, happily. That's not going to happen. And personal property is too precarious and invisible a fund to be laid hold of in any other way than by imperceptible agency of taxes on consumption. And so he says you can't tax them on lands and their houses because that'll be too much. They'll see it coming. And then personal property, whatever else they've got, whether they've got a cow, 2 horses, a bed in their house, or a couple of cups of silver cups. It's just going to be hard for us to figure out what these are, and it won't give us a good measure of what to tax. And then on top of that, he's indirectly telling his readers that you cannot keep on irritating these people, bothering them, because they'll just have so much to share with us. Okay, just the last few seconds of this video, I want to re-emphasize that for all of you who are listening, a majority of you probably, this project is for people who do not speak English as a first language. So sometimes these books are not going to be available to you, they're expensive, all these stuff. And by watching these videos, multiple videos, 1 hour, 2 hours a day, every other day, you'll be amazed at how much you will learn. It's just that you got to watch a whole bunch of them, and you'll find that you actually will